A lot for that. Markets off from the day's high, but what about the general trajectory, mood point, earnings and valuations, and the impact of Fed? Let's discuss all that and much more with Shailesh Bhan, Deputy CIO with Reliance Mutual Funds. Shailesh, fantastic to have you back and thank you for joining us. Let's first address the big global event, the Fed move. Do you think it's time to move on? And what Fed did last night was anticipated, and from a market standpoint, it is history?
It clearly is, because I think this was the most anticipated move of the year. If you see from the start of the year, people were talking about this itself. And I think the direction also talking about a gradual change over a period of time, I think is welcome. I think it was more uncertainty impacting markets that this event was not happening or getting delayed or deferred. And this move does reflect that the US economy strength is meaningfully better than what most people were anticipating. So I think it's a good platform to look forward to from here on for equity markets.
Why do you think good days for equity markets are coming? Because good day for equity markets will only come back when earnings are there, and as of now earnings are not there. Now we can be hopeful that earnings recovery is round the corner, but everyone who was betting on earnings recovery in beginning of 2015, they pretty much have got it wrong.
Yeah, see, you'll have to see any projection anybody is trying to make in the context of what's happened. In the last year, major events happened where commodity collapses have been beyond normal. Inventory losses in a lot of companies have been abnormally high, and you had a back-to-back impact of a monsoon failure. So I think combined all these factors impacted or delayed earnings growth. The good part is many industries have started to show some kind of a change, at least on the urban side of it. The urban discretionary spending has started to improve. This festive season was among the better festive seasons over the last 3-4 years. So I think there are enough signs to indicate a turn, at least in the consumer urban sentiment. The rural sentiment continues to be weak, but slowly it will flow in through short cycle capex, which we are actually positive on. So we think there's a greater chance, because every enabler is in place for earnings recovery. Whether it gets delayed by a quarter or two, I don't think doesn't distort the India growth story. So I think the key focus is to remain directional improvements, focus on directional improvements, which have been substantially larger than anybody would have imagined over the last 12 months for India.
Shailesh, good morning. Neeraj here. That one theme that everybody seems to be bullish on, since you're talking about an earnings recovery as well, is consumer discretionary or consumption. And, people also classify banks out there in a manner of speaking.
Sure.
So it's a very broad basket that you can paint it depending on how you want to paint it. What is your stance here, and what within that broad basket do you think will lead the charge on the earnings recovery front?
Yeah, I'll just tell you what trends are possibly visible, what you have picked up in the festive season. That will indicate where the turn is. Passenger car sales are meaningfully higher in this festive season versus last festive season. You've got the organized sector on the retail side showing meaningful change in terms of sentiment. I think like to like can actually work out to be higher if what has come in the press for these companies. Then if you're looking at airline travel, some indication of urban discretionary, some in terms of early cycle business recovery. Volume of passengers traveling this first half versus the previous first half, or this 7-8 months, has been maybe 18 to 20% higher in terms of volume of passengers flying. Then you have hotel occupancy, for example, in India is possibly 5-year highs or meaningfully higher across various markets, and more specifically in Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore markets, which are critical, a reflection of a business recovery as well as a little bit of consumption spending. So we think enough trends to indicate a change which is meaningful. And this is all without a pay commission, this is all without great job creation, this is all without any big tailwind supporting the growth. So I think we are coming off from a very low base. 5-6 years of high inflation and all that impacted sentiment very badly, and from that base we have started our uptick.
Right. Shailesh, as I look at the Reliance Top 200 fund, the focus essentially seems on autos and auto ancillaries. And the performance there has been very divergent and very product specific, so to speak, with Maruti doing exceedingly well, headwinds coming in for M&M, Tata Motors struggling with their domestic business, JLR facing slowdown in China. And then on the other hand, you have the two-wheeler pack, where again it's very polarized. Eicher Motors, the premium segment is, the demand over there is only extending out, which is a bit of a surprise. And that's very separate from what we've seen with the Bajaj Auto, Hero MotoCorp, or TVS Motors for that matter. So how are you looking at your conviction in the sector? And not just the auto space, but also auto ancillary, which is export dependent.
See, in the auto sector, you will find that, clearly urban dependent, urban growth is supporting the passenger car volume growth. The rural sentiment is still weak, which you can actually see in overall motorcycle sales not growing very rapidly. It's been now weak for close to 6 to 9 months. So I think different pockets of the market have started to deliver. The commercial vehicle side, there has been a meaningful recovery only on the heavy commercial, medium and heavy commercial vehicle side, but the LCV sides remained weak. So I think there are pockets of growth. And on the passenger and all that, it's urban led, the rural being weak. Hopefully, if it recovers, the rural sector recovers over the next 12 months, I think that will also contribute to additional growth to the sector. Coming to your auto ancillary piece, I think, there will be certain companies who have very, very broad exposure to global markets. They would have presence and say exposure to the oil and gas sector globally, so they will get impacted. But you'll have some other lever or many different levers working for different sets of companies. Today, some of these ancillaries are not remaining only auto ancillaries, they have diversified to other sectors as well. So our focus would be identifying a company with a diverse source of customers or diverse base of customers, which will allow for much greater or much better secular earnings over a period of time.
Shailesh, let me take the clock back, and when we interacted last time in December 2014, you were of the view that pharmaceutical or Indian pharma industry has a long way to go. Things were looking up, but suddenly things have dropped. A, because of US FDA, B, because of general price erosion. Do you think the peak earnings for pharma sector is behind us, or this disruption is a good time to plow money?
See, there are two components to this particular sector today. One is the international US component and the other is the domestic component. Like I mentioned in our last interaction as well, the domestic story is like a long, long way ahead to go, because I think we are just virtually, huge opportunities exist in various chronic areas which are there for a lot of companies to create large markets. So I think the domestic story can compound virtually for a meaningfully long period of time, and we are just starting to see that happen over the last 4 or 5 years, and I think this will continue for a long period of time. On the international side, India has become a very large player in the global generics market, and I think product approvals and all that are coming, but if there is a delay or a deferment because of regulatory issues there, it does impact earnings, because the base of US earnings is now getting larger for some of the large Indian companies. So these earnings will not be as secular as domestic earnings, so that volatility will continue to be there.
The stocks which you own, and you've been holding them for a long time, really long time, if I can say the word long once again, Sanofi, Abbott, aren't they expensive? I mean, MNC pharma stocks are good companies, great companies, they could be great compounding machines, but what about margin of safety and P multiples?
I will not comment on specific companies, but I think when you look at businesses, you have to see the dominance these businesses would have, or any of the businesses would have, over in terms of the presence in the distribution, the kind of products, the return on equities, the cash generating ability of these businesses. So you have to impute them when you're evaluating a PE multiple for a business.
Okay, that's a fair point, and understand that as well. But Shailesh, again, it's not a stock specific question that I'm asking you, but I look at the anchor books of all the recent IPOs, the healthcare related ones, and you guys feature prominently out there. And yes, the market is making a beeline for some of these as well. It's not a very large space, but coming into prominence now because of the investor reception that they are seeing. Are you bullish on the pocket at large?
See, the IPO market has started to revive. I mean, it is visible when you have this kind of an oversubscription which is being reported. So clearly there is a improvement in sentiment in that particular category, and if good businesses offer and come at rational prices of valuation, or are differentiated businesses and business models where today investors have not been able to participate until now, I'm sure there will be a demand.
Where are you on this debate of large cap versus mid cap? Large cap is where the underperformance is, mid cap is where the excitement is. Large cap is where there is little bit of value, mid cap is where P multiples are extended and overextended in some names.
See, I think you know the context very well. There have been a meaningful sell-off in the last 6 months in large cap companies by international investors or emerging market funds, and that has created a value differential which is normally not necessarily to last long. These things will happen, these distortions will happen for 3, 6, 12 months, and they may remain for some time. But I think the larger company valuations, which are significantly at a discount or a meaningful discount to other categories of the market, I think will correct over a period of time. And I think the larger companies, because a lot of competition is weakened for them, I think the next leg of recovery, they will have significant dominance, better operating leverage, they will actually have faster growth than what people are imputing. So I think the large cap space, especially after this correction, offers tremendous value to participate in.
Shailesh, I'm just going to also throw in one more joker in the pack, and the other joker in the pack is what is happening in the entire banking space. I'm going to keep good quality private banks aside because as of now there's no optical problem in them. But for PSU banks and for some mid-tier private banks, there are two problems. Credit growth is not there, and there's a lot of disruption which is going to happen, and disruption will only pick up more momentum once payment banks and small banks will kick in. Are you not worried about the largest sector of the economy? Because minus banks, economic recovery will not happen, and within the banking space, we don't know what the complexion of the picture could be like, 3 years down the lane, 5 years.
I agree that there is a lot of changes which are happening, but I think we are very, very early in terms of the cycle of changes. They will have an impact, like you said, on a specific set of banks, and you have to be careful with them. Especially banks who will not have access to capital easily because they are either inefficient. I think we have to be very careful and cognizant of the fact. But within top tier banks in either public sector or private sector category, I think who will fund India's growth? I think India's growth will be funded by these set of entities only, right? International funding from FDI side of it, plus also the funding led by the top tier banks in India. So wherever there is availability of capital and use of technology to fight through what changes which are happening in the marketplace, I think these banks will manage that. But you are right when you say that small banks without any distinct advantage, and if they don't have any specific niche in their business, will definitely see challenging times over the next 4 or 5 years.
Fair enough. Over the last few weeks, actually, last 2 weeks, we've been talking a lot about the excitement in the aviation space. It's a small pocket, few listed companies, but Indigo has changed the game somewhat in terms of the perception in the sector. As a fund manager, where does your conviction lie in aviation, if it lies at all?
See, as a sector, this sector is one of the most cyclical sectors. This sector has its own challenges, and today possibly the best of what can happen is happening to this sector. Weaker competition, a lower cost of raw materials or fuel, which is a significant part of it, and all these enablers are, seeing this industry in a sweet spot. As competitive intensity normalizes over the next 3-4 years, we don't know how the sector will actually behave. So I think specific to this sector, I would say that we are at the best of times, and best of earnings are getting multiples which are meaningfully high. So I think we'll have to have a look at it from how this sector behaves on normal operating environment, maybe a couple of years later.
Are there any value pockets which you can identify, or are you adding more of the same what we've discussed in last 1 year?
See, I think in the specific 2 or 3 areas where we are seeing an early cycle turn, which is like we talked about the urban discretionary recovery. I think that pocket, though there has been a re-rating in that sector a little bit, I think there are good opportunities or value opportunities lying in that category. Especially because a lot of these value opportunities will emerge with operating leverage advantage of these companies. As more throughput comes in, somebody who's added capacity in the last 3, 4, 5 years will see earnings rise much above the normal trajectory of 15-18%, which the average of the country can be. So I think those set of opportunities are still available and continuously keep coming up because of the volatility which throws these ideas back to you at or corrects the prices meaningfully. So this is one space where you have a good opportunity. Even the short cycle capex side, if you look at a lot of construction companies, though their balance sheet and the stresses would be there in terms of receivables and working capital, at least one leg of the story for them, the order booking has started to be meaningfully better and different. And I think this is a much better and much prettier picture than it was maybe about 12 months back for a lot of these construction companies. So I think many pockets are turning, like we talked about, say aviation as a sector, that there's been an improvement there. Likewise, you're seeing many sectors starting to show a turn. The occupancies and the ARRs, at least the occupancy side in the hospitality sector, has been meaningfully better, among the best you could see in the last 4-5 years. So many pockets are emerging in these areas, and even in the short cycle capex, which we think is an important opportunity, we are seeing some turn getting visible.